participants here. And thank you very much for very elaborate introduction. I must first thank for the invitation to be part of your wonderful interactions here and sharing some of the thoughts on this occasion. I'd like to particularly thank Prem Singh, who's been persuading me to be part of this thing. I know I'm a great professional here. My birthplace has been Kanpur, so I have had a very close relationship with this group. And my father used to tell a few stories. He was posted in Kanpur that time. And I really read that at that point in time, it was in the top 3 industrial houses in the country. And I'm sure with the kind of enthusiasm to change, to really grow, this group certainly is going to be one of the top industrial houses in the coming time. This kind of strategy meet come discussion, I think it's a very good initiative, and I think it shows the proactiveness of the management, the sheer presence of the leadership here, and the top people who are driving the business actually shows their commitment and their willingness to really look at issues and address the issues. Well, I'll be making slightly different presentations, and I thought it would be interesting to see what all makes a winning organization. And to my mind, I picked up 3 things that the people, the business, and to my mind, the leadership are very important for any organization to be successful at that. So I'll be dealing with specifically with these issues. I am not an expert as such on HR. I spent a few years, more years in the oil and gas exploration actually, when as a part of what was discussed in the last session, the CEO picked me up from oil and gas and gave me the challenge of driving the HR in the UNGC, which I was very reluctant in the first phase and wasn't sure. But he gave me confidence that he had been looking for almost a year for a suitable person in the UNGC. And I agreed that, okay, with his long session, one-to-one with me, on how he visualizes the UNGC should grow and what potential it has and what all can be done. And he said that if the organization has to grow and achieve a certain level of growth as a leading company, then it has to be on the HR platform. And I think I got convinced, but I said that, okay, fine, if I'm not successful, please put me back here where I'm starting in Kolkata as a head of the exploration there. So that's all this, but it has been a very challenging time there. And I must say that I enjoyed my HR role there, and we tried to do many things. And many of the aspects that were discussed were part of my actually work there. So I'd like to share a few thoughts. Maybe I think it will be relevant for you. Maybe some of them may be of use to you. I will make use of some of the studies that have been conducted, which are relevant to my mind. And I think you can perhaps think about that, how it matters to you in your own sphere of work in your organization. So, I hope I'm going to related issues of the HR. So, to my mind, when we're talking about organization or business, I see it as a very basic, simple model. Any business or any organization has 3 elements to my mind. The first is the technology. Any organization which would like to have a great performance, would like to grow and compete in the market, should have the latest technology. It's a platform where you cannot really compete if you are outdated in your technology. So this is the hardware part of the organization, is very important. Then you have the so-called software part of the organization, where you have strategy, system, procedures, how you take decisions, how you use technology, how you use the entire organizational structure to take decisions and move ahead, the software part of this. Now, if you have a good idea today, then all organizations have access to the same technology. They can access the same technology by the technology. They can also learn how to use it. They can also learn how to take good decisions actually. So practically, the same technology and how to use it effectively, how you take decisions, you can all learn. Every organization has access to the same. If that is the case, then all organizations should be performing at the same level. But this doesn't happen. And the answer to this lies to the third element, the people. People can make all the difference. So I think when it comes to an organization's issue, growth, performance, and long-term perspective, it is the people, to my mind, which should be kept in focus. Many organizations actually forget about it. And that's where the problem starts actually. So when it comes to people, we are actually talking about talented people, the talent you have in the company. Because they are the ones who are the future leaders or are already the leaders of the organization, and they can drive that. They are the differentiators. They make the difference. In fact, the organizations have already been started sort of differentiated based on the people, the quality of people, the competence of the people. How have been, sort of seeing our people? If you see in the previous decades, we used to say that this is employee cost, and there were all efforts made to cut down the costs. Then came a time when we started talking about people as assets, organization assets. There's a lot of importance that comes. I think this is the time now when they are being termed as investors, your customers, actually the internal customers. And therefore, the entire approach towards the people, your people, has changed, and rightly so. Now, are we having the same kind of relationship or approach towards the people in our organizations? And that we need to see that. People-centric organizations have always performed better when they have policies revolving around people. They perform much better than many other organizations on this. There are several studies on this, and I'd like to share many of those studies. Now, this is a study undertaken by A some time back, where they had taken some retail chain, different retail chain, and numbers, different numbers for all of them, and they tried to compare them in a market conditions which are also more or less similar. And yet you found that the performance was much, much different in this. Why? Again, sort of emphasizing that it is the people who make all the difference. So therefore, for any organization, it's very important that we review our policies, our approach as to how are we dealing with our people, our talent, our internal customers. And I think all policies should be to see that how do you enhance their competencies, skills, add on new skills, and those skills which are required in the future particularly. There's another K group study which had actually brought out that talented manpower, if they use their discretionary effort, now that's a very important thing, discretionary effort. Why should one use its own discretionary effort? Employees come, regularly work and go, but there are certain people who are so attached to work and they are so happy that they do little more than what is actually described in the KRA or KPIs or the given goals on that. And they said that if you can provide that kind of a culture, enabling culture, then as much as 30% increase in the actual measured profits margins grow because of their discretionary effort that people actually unleash, because they have that kind of an enabling environment and culture to work. The challenge is, how do we create that culture in your organization, and can we sort of provoke our employees, our people, to unleash that discretionary effectiveness? Coming to business, I think if you try to describe the main macro parameters of this, then we have big businesses, where there have been several cases where you don't have that trust. There is far less instability in the economy, political mistake, shift of major growth-related businesses happening. Every government is really working on more stricter regulatory moving ahead. I think there is a need to create a different framework for tomorrow's company. What you have been successful so far does not guarantee you that you will be successful in the next years, next future, recent future, or distant future of that. You would need to have a framework for it which is suitable for a futuristic company. If you have to really survive and prosper, you need to also have a different. How do you, in that kind of uncertainty, really work and move ahead? McKinsey had given another study where they had said that there are 4 types of uncertainty, starting from a simple uncertainty to a kind of totally ambiguous kind of environment where you cannot really decide any direction. And these 4 levels were different. But I think what we should do if you have uncertainties, I'd like to here mention a wonderful book by Ramchar, which he presented to me a few years back. He come up with the new book, Attacker's Advantage, where he has said that normal uncertainties are part of business. We can predict them. For example, operational uncertainties. You also have, as youngsters, people career uncertainties. There could be macro uncertainties like geopolitical conflicts, climate change, also the instability in the financial system of the world. All these you can predict. But what Ramcharan is saying, that this is the time when the so-called structural uncertainty is taking place, which is total disruption actually. And in that kind of a disruption, these are because of the forces which are from outside and you have no control on them. In this kind of a structural uncertainty, which is a global phenomenon, how do you really work? How do you take decisions? How do you move ahead? How do you make your investment decisions on this? That's very difficult. But we must see that all kinds of uncertainties do not come all of a sudden. There are always symptoms of that. And it is for the company, for the organization to develop a mechanism to see that change coming ahead of years. Now, in a changing environment, it is obvious that all organizations undergo these changes, face these problems. But how many of the organizations have developed mechanisms, have people and good people who have that competencies to either predict change or see the change happening? I think in today's environment, it's very important that we actually develop people with competencies who can predict change or who can see the change coming. These changes normally do not come just suddenly. There are many examples as such, in our industry, in the IT, in the computer sector. There are several leading companies who have run into difficulties because they never either thought. For example, a classic case of Nokia, for example, ignoring that an Apple, a computer company, can make a mobile which can be so successful. When they had the market leadership on that. There are many other examples on that. So I think the important is that we need to have mechanism in the organization, and I make a point there. Please look at that, whether your organization has a mechanism to see what all is changing, where it is changing, and develop a structured mechanism to really either see that or predict that. Put people together who have that capabilities to predict that and then take advantage of that. Be prepared rather than submitting yourself as an organization to a change that you can't do anything. This change is happening, so we have to go through that. That's not the thing. That is what Ramcharan said, that do that and get yourself prepared to take it head on. And that's the attacker's advantage. The attacker's advantage is to that you are up there first, you see that thing ahead of others, and you have the advantage of that. When it comes to leadership, I think there are a few things that are very important in this fast changing world. Now, you definitely require a distinctly different kind of leadership. The one which is currently being used will not be really successful in the new environment of business, in the change environment of business. And you will need a radically different mindset, new skills for anticipating events and going on attack. Previous success is no guarantee for your future success. There are 3-4 things that are pointed out by him that definitely would require leadership skills. One is that perpetual equity, that you have that mental preparedness to see around corners. Just keep on seeing what's all happening, what is all changing. And develop your people, train them to see those what has changed. Changes sometimes happen so slowly that we are not able to notice that. So create competencies in your people, create a structure where people can see the change and see that change ahead of others. I think that's very important. You can also have experts helping you with that. So create that mechanism in the organization. Number 2, a mindset to see opportunity in uncertainty. If you surrender to uncertainty, you can't progress. You need to see that what is it that in the uncertainty also I can do well and get yourself prepared. So take on head on this. The ability to see new path forward and commit to it, I think that kind of mindset is required for the leadership here. Adaptness. You must adapt to the managing the organization and transitioning through this new path. And lastly, the skills that are required in making the organization steerable and agile. You need to respond quickly. You can't wait. And therefore it's important, if the change is coming or it's going to come continuously, you must have a mechanism in the organization and people with those skills to really be able to respond quickly on this. The attacker's advantage is the ability to detect ahead of others those forces that are radically reshaping your marketplace and then position your business to make the next move first. Uncertainty is not something to fear actually, but rather something to immerse yourself in, because in life the possibilities you can combine to create something new and immensely valuable. So I think uncertainties, which is going to be part of that, and any organization, all of us are feeling, I think we need to prepare and create that mechanisms. I'll just share with you some of the another study which was taken by McKinsey some time back as to how the companies are not able to take their decision because of this uncertainty. Sales, for example. If you see the auto industry in the US is a fit example. In our country, we had the biggest private player in the oil and gas sector, opened about 1,500 retail outlet, and in no time had to close those. Because they just couldn't compete with the prices of the PSU companies in that. What kind of investment in countrywide on this? So more than 55% companies could not take decisions because of uncertainty in the sales area. Customer preferences. A fit example is the mobile telephony versus landline. Terrific change. In no time, the customer preferences were very clear. Along with that, if you see customer and the competitors, if you both combine, we have a classic example in our country where per call 1 paisa, then the company came with the half a paisa call, and then we have now free calls. This can disrupt the complete organization. How are you prepared for that? Then the availability of funds, actually, financing or high inflation, all those things can be without your control, actually. So it becomes very difficult. So the issue is that under several companies were not able to take decisions because of uncertainty in that area. Regulatory, of course, there have been cases of retrospective implementation of certain taxation, environment laws, many other examples are there. So uncertainties are a big issue, and when you are in business, this is only going to grow. So how you are going to deal with that? I think there is a requirement of looking at a very balanced view to my mind. Now, what is happening is that normally organizations who are doing well remain focused on their present day working. They are so engrossed in that, and they are pretty good at that. They are the good company, quick, agile, sleep companies working on this, but they are too focused on today's work. They are so much focused that they do not recognize that changes are happening, and the business models that companies work on that are all perishable. What is relevant now, that business model, in a couple of years' time, it may be totally irrelevant. And this realization comes much later. So they are too focused on today's business model. They forget that the business models are perishable. There is a resistance to change. What I am doing is fine, business is really fine. Why should I change it? And they are not prepared to take any risk. So that's the box one, what I say here. This is a normal thing that happens. This thing, everything is going all right. Why should I change? It's fine. But as a business models change, environment changes, uncertainties are there. You can't keep on doing the business the same way. And therefore, you need to undertake a study. What is not working in the organization? You have to prune that. You have to selectively take out and destroy that. Whether it is a underperforming or non-performing part of this, or which is no longer fit into the business strategy of the organization. You have to take it out. It is very difficult, I must say. It is very easier said than done, but then you have to take decision. If you don't do that, if you don't really destroy that, you cannot create other. And therefore, these three boxes are very similar to our Indian mythology. Willfully, those parts of the organizations which are irrelevant, policies become irrelevant after some time. And their HR has to play an important role on that. And when you are able to destroy that, then only you can create through innovation. So I think it's very important, and we must see that in this transformation, we overcome the problem of resistance to change. I've been doing this for 15 years, I know this best, why should I change? All that attitude. Organizational memory is again a thing. This is what we've been doing, and sir, it was working very well. Why should we change this? Overcome these kind of resistance. That's very important. For a CEO, for a leadership positions, CEO cannot focus on just one box. We expect today, in the changing, fast-changing environment, that the CEO focuses on all the three boxes at the same time. Preserve what is need to be preserved, destroy what is becoming irrelevant, seeing that what is coming, what change is coming, and then look for what is new that need to be created in this. I think that's very important, and here I think the organizations normally falter, and therefore I say that it's very important for the leadership to actually take note of that. Now, at this point in time, leadership, I'd like to, maybe you know that, but a small story. At a place close to a sea, there was an island, and then there was a project to develop a road from a port that was being developed to a supply base. So an organization got a job, they put their people there, their resources there, the KRAs, KPIs were finalized, incentives were finalized, work started, and targets were met, all these things were, incentives were distributed. As the work was proceeding, and it was in a dense forest actually, after a month or so, one of the persons actually got an idea and he climbed on top of a big tree and he saw all around and then he shouted from there, "Wrong way!" What they were all doing, making all right, meeting the targets, quality was good, but they were going in the wrong direction. I think this is what we need to actually avoid. And this is the role of the leadership, to my mind, that we need to really take note of that. This is one of the stories I think many of you would have heard, but I think very, very relevant actually to this. So, while management is doing things right, it is leadership is doing the right things actually. So, I think we need to have the leadership interventions there. And when you talk leadership and leader, it's not that someone walks into a position and becomes a great leader. No, it is earned. It is earned. And the role of the leader is to establish under which all performers will choose to execute the mission, the vision, and the purpose, objective of the organization. Leadership is about transforming vision into a reality. So therefore, to my mind, it's very important that we focus on the leadership requirement of the organization. And let me point out that leadership, you should not understand only the top management. Leadership at all levels. You need to have technical leadership, you need to have team leadership. At all levels, you need leaders in this. And there is no choice. All of you sitting here are actually leaders in your own roles. And just to tell you that leadership not just at the work, leadership has to be at all four domains, and true leaders can integrate that, whether it is home, self, community, or work. A complete leader is expected to have this capability of integrating all of them. And then, you, to my mind, you have no choice, you have to be a leader. Have you ever tried to understand or evaluate, as a leader, how have you been doing? You must ask a question, how are the people who you lead are doing actually under you? Do they learn? Do they manage conflict and initiate change? Are they growing or being promoted? Is their performance better because of your interest and dedication to their development? I think the challenge and the focus should be developing leaders through leaders. And you as leaders, your role, have to take that responsibility of developing your team, your leaders, your successors, your peers into leadership roles from your own team. That's very important. Then leader by choice. I thought it's important to really, again, take a very nice suggestions by Jim Collins on this, that you build a pocket of greatness. How do you really develop your leadership? And you have no choice. Let me tell you, all of you have to play the role of a leader. Get the right people in the key seats. Double question to statement ratio. Statements are okay, but then they don't add value. You must double the questions to statement ratio. Confront the brutal facts, not the opinions. We are swayed by the opinions very often. You must focus on facts. Set personal vision aligned to lifetime core values and purpose. Find your personal hedgehog, what passion you have, what you want to do, and focus on it. You must make stop doing list as a person, as an individual, as well as do list, and should not have more than 3, otherwise it gets diffused. Just the 3 points: what I will stop, what I will do. And lastly, how many of you actually spend time with yourself? Do you ever sit down yourself and think about what I've been doing is all right, what I should change, am I doing all right, what are the weaknesses I should work, what are the problem areas, how I should attack that? If you're not doing it, suggest please do that. It gives you clarity on your personal agenda to be a leader, to be a good performer. That's very important. At least once in a week, or at least once in a fortnight, if not a week. Spend half an hour with yourself. Just sit down and do that. How do you create a leadership company? I was very happy to see that the top leadership here, Singhanias were present there. The company CEOs were here, they're still here, verticals, heads are here. That's the kind of a network company. So a leadership company is actually a network company. They don't work on command and control. They work on a network. Network of leaders, where CEO is one of those actually equivalents. There is little hierarchy. You have to have somebody, a CEO, to take a call. But then the hierarchy is less. People have a high level of engagement, freedom of speech. So when you are saying that you have 80% plus engagement that has come out in the survey, that's very high, very good. My compliments actually. But are you taking advantage of that? The contrary part was that in the customer centricity did not show that much of increase. Why? There's a reason you should analyze that. Employees drive satisfaction from being involved in work that produces either products or services that customer buy with increasing satisfaction. I think that's all about the leadership company. Let us see whether we are really able to create that leadership company. Are we working in a leadership company or not? What can be done? What needs to be changed to be truly called as a leadership company? Of course, I'll skip that. HR trends. I thought it's very important to really see what's all new trends are there. And there are many studies that have come in the recent past, and each year we find that certain trends are, surveys are done and sort of shared. Some of them are really very good. These trends, they reflect how pronounced impact of economic, social, political issues is happening on the business and business strategies. That's the trend analysis that shows. It also reflects the increased impact of artificial intelligence, cognitive technologies, automation, and requiring people to really reinvent themselves how to learn, relearn now. Relearning is very important, very difficult, because you have to unlearn certain things first. And perhaps the biggest disruption that is happening, and we are all witnessing to this, is the emergence of the social enterprise. And not only just emergence of social enterprise, but also leading a social enterprise. That's even more difficult. And this has been done based on a survey of more than 10,000 respondents from 119 countries, done by the Deloitte. And they say that social enterprise is not just doing some CSR work or modifying the statements of a vision and mission to include the CSR. That's not. Social enterprise must generate profit and deliver returns to shareholders. That's important. Of course, this is part of the business. They must work at the same time to improve the lots of the workers, customers, and the communities in which they live. I think that's the added responsibility there. And therefore, it is very, very difficult for leading a social enterprise. And this is perhaps regarded as the biggest disruption and the fourth industrial revolution that we are all really witnessing here. This study which was done has brought out some remarkable trends, and I think any organization which is keen to really perform and have a kind of a satisfaction that they have a good connect with their customers, it's very important in this. So, some of the top issues that have come in this study. The first thing, which is the learning. That in the change environment, people have to relearn new skills, new competencies, and the challenge is that they need to really, it's become very difficult for them. They'll have to reinvent themselves how to learn that. Maximum number of respondents, about I think 86%, have said that this is the biggest challenge today. And at the same time, how much is the preparedness that you see that we are just about 46% prepared to deal with that. There's a long way to go. The second is the human experience. The employee experience or the human experience, if we enlarge it in their scope. Again, how do you really see a growth in this? Rethink that the workforce experience, how do you improve the productivity of personnel? Again, the readiness is just about 43%. Leadership, we were talking about. Leadership has been actually appearing, if you see, maybe continuously for the last 6-7 years, all HR, sometime at number 1, sometime number 2, this time let's cover number 3, but it remains one of the issues, and for India particularly, it remains one of the important issues that how do you create leadership, and leadership that is able to drive organization in the uncertain future, and how do you imbibe those new competencies and leadership skills. That's very important. So if you see, I'll go up to HR cloud because is to my mind here largely from HR. In the last couple of years, expectation of the business has been that the HR need to improve its own quality, its own competencies, its own skills to be able to deliver to the organization. What kind of HR person we require today? I doubt how many of the HR people can really read and understand the balance sheet of the company. How many HR people can talk the language of the technology in the organization, what the other people talk? How many HR people reach out to people and network with the other verticals, your peers in other disciplines? We need today HR people which are all-rounder. They talk the language of the business, they are good in finance, they are good in technology, then only you can deliver it. The expectation of the HR people, therefore, is much different now. And I hope that this is noted. All these trends have been clubbed into main three areas, and I would like actually request that you please go through this report. Very interesting report, good learning and good information. Three major areas: the future of the workforce, the future of organization, and the future of HR. Very relevant for any organization. Earlier, the contract people, freelance workers, gig employment, all were considered is possible, but this is today is a norm. Many companies, if you see, have very high percentage of people actually engaged through a contractual arrangements or through as a freelance for specific jobs. Then there are super jobs, open to talent economy, there are super jobs that the job nature has changed, we call it super jobs, where the competencies are different. Therefore, you have to retrain your people to really get those skills and competencies to take up new jobs, we call super jobs. And then the leadership. We need the leadership, we need leaders from all of you, for example here, we need leaders. They are comfortable with the uncertainty and are able to lead their teams in this ambiguous nature of business or business environment that exists today. Similarly, the future of organization, I think, should focus on the employee experience or expanding it to the human experience. I think that should be the focus. We see that the companies are actually struggling to build programs to work in teams and have appropriate incentives designed for them. Becoming difficult. As far as HR is concerned, I think the focus should come clearly on using technology for all HR policies, processes, support innovation, raise productivity, and lower costs should be the essence of this HR. But I think you need to do that to really understand the technology, understand the business, then only you can perhaps be helpful in these endeavors. Like the Deloitte trends for this year, 2019, SHRM, the Human Resource Society of Management of US, had worked out, I put it for the last year. Again, if you see, are changing as the respondent behavior is slightly changing, but the issues, if you see, in most of the first 5 or so remain more or less same. So I think it's high point that we examine our organization as to what we need to do to really overcome these problems. A study which was done just about, I think, 1.5 years, 2 years back by National HR Network of India and Deloitte, where they did that, and we all do in the organization. You send people for training, he undertakes a training of 1 week, 10 days, 15 days, comes back, you take it, yes, he's trained, put him to the job there. That time, that survey, they undertook a study. How well is he trained? Is he really trained to the expectation and meet the objective or not? Now, if you see, in all those areas of this thing, there was a shortfall of ranging from 20% to 29% in all areas of training. So I think it's important for us, when we train people, we need to take an assessment whether the person has been able to go through the training program and is able to meet the objectives of the new role that he has to play. Otherwise, you can't expect then that he would also perform like an expert as a trained person in this. So I think that's very important. Coming to the customer centricity, just few thoughts I thought I'll share with you. I think the important thing to my mind, and I want to share, is that it is not just customer service that companies should focus. I think the challenge is in offering something great experience right from the awareness stage, not just the finished product. You must make them aware of what's all happening. You must also give them a unique experience while they are actually transacting with you as an organization. And more importantly, after the post-purchase, how you are keeping in touch and how are you really offering your services to the customer. The idea is actually that you should know your customer 360 degrees. You know his preferences, you know his changing behavior. Unless you do that, you are not really be truly customer centric. So to my opinion, customer centricity starts much before you are able to give a finished service as a product or any product as such, but to bring the customer into your fold so that he is interested to know what's all you are doing, how you are doing, give him a unique, different experience. And you must keep in touch with 360 kind of a appraisal we do for our employees. I think we should do for the customers as well on this. We all know that some of these challenges is not easy. One of the studies that showed is that what are the challenges in customer centricity? So, functional working in silos in an organization was rated by the respondent as the number one. 52% said that this is a challenge, how to overcome that. Number two, culture not aligned around customer needs. Second challenge, second problem, 39%. Missing key technology platforms. You can't really sort of give them that experience using that technology. Even the definition of customer centricity is different in different functional or vertical areas within a company. So you are not on a common platform. You have lack of support structure to really address this issue. You do not use or you have insufficient expertise in data analytics. That's very important today to really check the trend. And you are focusing on sales first before the customer. So I think we all are aware of the major issues, major problems that are there. The challenge is that we prioritize out of these challenges what is that we have problem in our organization. Make an agenda, make an action plan, and then make an assessment after some time that whether we are able to overcome that or not. But that's very important to my mind. Well, we all know the churn rate issues and the CLV. We had that in presentations. I think these are the measures that you need to do that. I mean, there's nothing good about it to do that. I try to put some thoughts, generic thoughts, as far as customer centricity is concerned. It may sound to be a little critical for JK Group, but just few thoughts, very independent, I thought. No news about the portfolio brands. You must create news. That's how it is, retention is there. You must create news on that. What does JK stand for in terms of identity? like to attach JK Group stands for. Somebody was asking about the tagline. I think we need to really look at that. And hammer it repeatedly on the customers. To my mind, no relatable brand equity in mind of young customers. Actually, I discussed with my son, and he is an auto fan like any youngsters. He is a big fan of Pirelli, costly tires, but in my house we have some 5-6 cars. Everybody is working, so they use different cars. But he makes sure that we buy Pirelli. I asked him, why Pirelli? He said, it's a brand, it's a quality. They give you a right experience. You go there, you really get the thing. Why can't we do for JK? Why can't we give them an experience in that? Lack of application of positive customer stories. You don't share customer stories with the public. I think it's time. Maybe a small thing, but I think we need to really bring it to the other customers. That would be a great mistake. Not enough customer zones. That was again a point, actually my son told me this. Bring the customer, not for the sales or this thing, just give him experience. Let them have experience, he will come next time on his own. Bring 4 or 5 other fellows also. Provide that kind of, to my mind, customer experience zones. Create those 1 or 2 centers where you can take your this thing and publicize that. Share with this thing. This is the era of technology. What is it in that technology you are able to showcase that JK has this unique technology? To my mind, you must really focus on this. No young customer-centric marketing activities. I'm not aware, there must be a few of them. But to my mind, when a youngster was talking to me, apparently is not perhaps immediately visible. So I think make it more visible. Share it. One young generation pioneering product story has to be hammered into customers' mind. Keep on repeating that. One good story, it will have good retention, it will have a lot of impact on this. Have a robust need gap analysis system in place. There is a huge scope in improving brand recall. Lastly, target should be to be in the top 5 brands of the country. I think that target you should all make as your customer centricity initiative. And I think do all what need to be done and set a timeline, maybe in next 1 year or 2 years time. You should again take analysis. You should be actually counted as one of the 5 brands in the country. Why not? It's a big brand. I feel very good when I wear a diamond suit. In fact, when I had gone for my PhD in Germany, a sense of pride came in when somebody in German asked me, hey, you are wearing a Indian thing or it's a UK? So I said with proud, this is a made in India, it is Raymond, is an Indian product. He said, oh, this is wonderful. That's the kind of thing I think we should create. Why not? So, thank you very much for your attention. I don't know whether I have made a point, but I thought something very relevant, maybe a few points may be of use to you. But thank you very much for inviting me and paying that attention.